prices. One of the things that you will discover about this is it's all like common day, everyday occurrences. There's just terms that go along with them, right? So um, the first thing to understand is that these three all connect with each other in some way, shape, or form, right? So I'll get to that first slide, and this will kind of bring me to where I was just going, right? So the first thing to understand about demand itself is that demand is two pieces. There's two things you have to have in order to have demand. First one, the desire. Almost all of us have the desire to go buy something or get something, right? The second part is a little bit more tricky, depending the ability to pay for it. A lot of us have the desire, and we tend to do that shopping version. And there's two types of shopping, right? There's the I'm going out to get something, and I know what I'm getting, and I have the money, and I'm going to get it. That would be considered demand, right? I have the desire and the ability. Versus the other form of shopping, what some people look at as just like therapeutic. Like I'm just going to go look. I'm just going to go walk, check out this, check out that. And my mom tends to be more of that type of shopper. As a matter of fact, she's the deal shopper. She'll start at one store and move to the next, and move to the next, and move to the next, and move to the next. Sometimes 4 or 5 stores later, she'll go, yeah, the original store is probably the best bet. So then she'll go back to her first spot, and you're like, oh my god. Those are the days. I remember those. Still getting lost inside of the clothes where you hide inside, and all of a sudden you turn around and mom's gone. And you're like, wait, mom, where? um, so what's funny now, and it's one of those things where you kind of have to be careful that you're not the creeper, but sometimes you'll see kids that kind of like wander off. And my sister and I had this conversation like a random. She's like, "Do you ever once in a while like watch kids wander off just to make sure that you can help find the parent?" Like, it's like every once in a while, you see a kid, and you're like, "Oh, they're gonna get lost," and the mom doesn't see it, so you kind of like keep your eye on it, and then the kid finds one. Okay, good. But the creeper version, because you don't want to like leer at the kid and be like, "Oh, okay." Anyways, all right. So you have the desire and ability. Now we're in demand. I know for a fact I have. Think every once in a while I think I have demand for a brand new vehicle. I'm at the point in my life where I'm on the verge of the midlife crisis. Have you guys ever heard of that? Which where the both male and female. Typically, you hear from the guys for certain. Like the dads will go out and buy themselves a Corvette, so they'll go out and buy themselves a Mustang or something like. Because like, come on, halfway through my life, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm on the verge. I'm right there. It's all desire though. There is no ability for me to buy the vehicle that I really, really want. And now it's changing because originally I was like a Ford man, but now there's some new trucks out there where I'm like, hey, I don't know. There's some other versions that are kind of nice as well. Plus, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to put every bell and whistle that I want. Because like all of the cars I've had, if I like always, I can afford that, and I'll get that, but I'll get the base model. No. Next one. Once I have the ability, then I will start to go shopping for it. The other thing to keep in mind is price is determined by the interaction of supply and demand. So if it was up to us as consumers, how much would everything cost?
No.
Nothing. I would walk into stores and just take things off the shelf. It would be a glorious life, right? I want that car. I'll take the keys and I'll drive it away. It would be great. However, how many companies would be willing to be like, yeah, you're right, just take it? No. They're not doing it. Remember we talked about the benevolence of the butcher and the baker. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their own heart. They want to make some money off of this too, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, we have to have that middle ground, which leads us to the markets, right? So we're going to talk a lot about that agreement between suppliers and consumers. The nice thing about demand is it's very, very simple because we always think of things typically as a consumer. Some of you guys might look at it as like, if I own this company, how much would I be charging? But we tend to have to kind of jump through some hoops to get to that perspective. Most of the time, you're thinking about what can I get, how can I get it, what's the cheapest version, yada, yada, yada. Which leads us to the law of demand. Now, the law of demand, in general, as we look at this, is based off of price, right? So price is going to kind of guide us in the law of demand realm. So as the prices go down, and again, as I say this, you're like, yeah, this is kind of like normal thought process. we tend to go buy stuff. Right? One of the things that we're having issues right now with, and you guys are all seeing this, is prices have done what? They've gone up, right? So we're on the other side over there. The prices go up. We typically get nervous and we save more and we buy less, which is a really weird thing. Is it actually causes the economy to slow down and things gets, and it exacerbates it. Like it makes it worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Because if I'm the owner of a company and no one's buying my stuff, what do I have to do to try to keep my employees going and or my business? I may have to raise my prices a little bit or leave my prices and do what to my employees? Cut my employees' hours, cut a couple employees. So it's this, right? So we want people to spend money. We want you to go out. Every once in a while, politically, you'll hear about the president's the tax code. They'll actually try to get more money back. During the pandemic, there was the CARES Act, which was the very, very first one. I think it was like $3,000 plus then some more for if you had more kids, depending on. And then there was a child tax credits if you had 4 kids. You had like $400 per kid or $200 per kid, right? The idea was to please keep spending money. Please keep spending. If you keep spending, we'll keep doing this. The problem that we're running into now is if I then take that money away from you guys and you don't have it anymore, we kind of put the brakes on because now we're nervous again. And we stop buying things, so you start to see the economy slow down. So the government has to play the game of how much is too much. How much do I give you? How much do I keep back? Going back to the tax, who in here has gotten, does anybody get money back from their taxes this year? Right? So here's the irony. You're not getting money back. That's your money. They just didn't spend it. Right? So if you think about it from that perspective, they're just giving you the money they didn't spend back to you. You're not getting free money from the government. That was yours in the original.
That makes me so mad.
That's the part that kind of makes it a little bit depressing. You're like, wait a second. Because some people get excited, like, yeah, I got a tax rebate. Yeah, they just didn't use all of your taxes. They're giving you what they didn't use back. So, but you'll hear a lot of the companies then will do the whole advertising. Use your tax rebate on, or come on in, do your taxes with us, and we'll use that money towards an down payment on a car. All sorts of stuff like that. This is a very generic curve of demand. So if you guys want to go ahead and just draw this on there, it's a physical representation. We're going to do a lot of graphing with this section of the notes. The nice thing about this is, well, not the nice thing, but the thing about this is most of the graphs we are dealing with in probably this level economics, who in here is looking to go into college after high school, okay? If you guys have to take another economics course, like a micro 101 or a macro 101, you'll still be playing around with graphs that look like this. When you get into the higher level economics, depending on if you're going into business, like business management or business or sales, you might start to see some different versions of this graph. But to put your minds at ease, this is the graph we're going to be playing with for the entire time. Now, the one thing that's a little bit different about this graph is that I'm using something called quantity demand at the bottom, if you see that there. It's a little bit different than demand. Demand, well, let's do this. Who in here wants to get out of school early? Okay, so it's kind of a variation on demand. I want, right? Let's say that there's a potential ability to do that. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more specifics. Who in here is willing to get out of school today by paying me $10? Okay. Who in here is willing to get out of school today early by paying me $20? Oh, so 10 is mine. Let me go the other direction. How about $9? $8? 7? 6? $5? $4? 3? 2? $2? How about $1? How about nothing? He doesn't like it. You're staying. Okay. Where you're at 0. Right. So what I did was I just put a price tag on it. Right. So if I was to go with pizzas or food or cars or anything you guys were purchasing on, if I said, okay, who wants to buy brand new DVD or makeup or a new computer, right? That's demand. Now, if I say at this price, I've now gone into a realm I can grab. So everything we're going to deal with from this point on, for the most part, is going to be at a specific price, who's willing. At a specific price, who's willing. That's quantity demand, and that's measurable. So we'll see that a lot as we get into the graphing. But the relationship here is an inverse relationship, right? It's a negative relationship. As one goes up, the other one goes down. And again, if I'm who here's ever been to Dollar Dog Night at the Progressive Field? You ever go to the Indians games? Every once in a while they'll do the Dollar Dog Night, and you like go on that night because it's just $1 for as many hot dogs as you want to buy. $1. So if you want to buy $40 worth of hot dogs, plus tax, of course, $40, right? So, but then there's also the better hot dogs that they have that are like the big full meat ones. They're like a pound, right? Those are more expensive.
There's a pound hot dog?
Yeah, it's a big one.
That's
huge.
disgusting.
It's like this big long, but it's full. It's like I'm not sure if it's 100% meat. Anyway, there's no pieces parts in that one.
Ew.
Right? But it's like $4.50 or $5 for that one. Right. So if I'm looking at this graph, let's say I'm charging $6.50 for that dollar dog on Dollar Dog Night. Who's going to buy it? There might be a couple people that are stupid enough to pay $5 or 5 of them for $6.50 for those cheap dollar hot dogs. But if I say, okay, now, how about for just $1? Well, now 35, 27. Like, there's a lot more people. So again, a physical representation of demand. Now, this is the fun part. This is where I actually kind of enjoy this conversation here. So there are things that affect the law of demand. The first one, we do this all the time. We don't even think about it. So we're not looking at the actual item, it's the concept of looking for something else. Right? So when you guys go shopping, and I kind of talked about my mom earlier where she goes from one store to the next, to the next, to the next thing. She's looking for a substitute for the original item. Like she has an idea of what she wants, but I'm going to go look around for this deal. Right? Some companies really, really key in on the substitution effect. Like who in here has ever shopped at Costco? Okay, what's their brand? Kirkland. Everything Kirkland, right? Because they know we as consumers are always looking for the deal, the substitution effect. So you're looking at, they have the name brand mattresses, and then they have the Kirkland mattresses, right? And then there's the name brand shoes and the Kirkland shoes. The name brand socks and the Kirkland socks. And then you get into the food section, they got the name brand foods and the Kirkland version of the exact same food, right? There's always, there it is, Kirkland. And when I do the same thing, I buy the bottled waters, right? Or I could get the Dasani ones, right? So depending on what you're looking for. But we tend to look for the deals. Walmart does the same thing with the
Great value.
Great Value. Sam's Club has a version, Sam's Choice, something or other. It's the same company, just look bigger. The one thing I find interesting is if you go to Costco, kind of what are you paying? I'm trying to think of how to explain say this. When you buy something at Costco, what's the difference between that and getting a Giant Eagle or Heinen's?
It's in bulk.
It's in bulk, right? So it's a lot of big stuff together. So when you're at Giant Eagle, this is kind of a weird pitch. What are you paying for compared? Why is it more expensive at Giant Eagle than at Costco for those?
You're paying for one unit instead of bulk.
Yeah, you're paying for the big, so you have to divide that. So when you go to Giant Eagle, if you think about it, you're paying for the convenience of not having to divide that. So you'll get like 20 chicken breasts at Costco, and versus the 4 chicken breasts at Giant Eagle that they've separated for you, and then packaged it smaller units. Another good example of this is who in here has ever noticed the prices between a 20-ounce bottle of soda versus the 2-liter bottle of soda? 2-liter bottle is like what, $1.20, and the 20 ounce is $1.50 to $1.80. What are you paying for when you buy the smaller bottle? Portion. And what does it fit in? Fits in my car. Right? 2-liter bottles don't typically fit in your
vehicle. So that you're buying.
Well, it's the
you know,
same. It's the same thing
you-
with cans though. Canned pop is so much more expensive than 2 liter.
Yeah, it's you're paying for convenience. It's kind of one of those. Yeah, that's a lot of the new ones that have at the bottom. Like I think Burger King, McDonald's, does Wendy's do the same thing where you get the big top and the small bottom so it fits in the cup. So substitution effect can affect the law of demand. Income effect, another one. There's a term that goes along with this, just so you guys have it. It is called. Sorry, that's one. Purchasing power. All right, and the idea behind purchasing power is you and I have different purchasing power based off of the income effect. Right? So if you and I were to go out to dinner, I could probably afford to pay for you and maybe another couple people with us. Whereas you guys go out would probably be, all right, let's all go Dutch. I'll pay for mine, you pay for yours, you pay for yours. I can afford me. I'm not sure if I can afford more people. On a funny side note, my brother years ago, he is now since divorced from this girl, but we went a really, really nice Italian place. It's actually DC Pasta in Strongsville, which has since gone out. They've closed because of COVID and stuff. But it's like a really homemade pasta in the back. Like they make it all for you. It was really, really good. And years ago we went, and we went as a family to celebrate my brother's engagement. And he's like, my treat, I'm paying. So we went, and I remember we all, did our normal eating habits, and we're not a big family, but a couple of us are a little bit bigger. Anyways, my dad's an appetizer fanatic. Like if you go, I'm not sure if I ever told you guys this, if you can time it right and get there just late enough, my dad will have bought all the appetizers, so you just show up and then also going to for you. So that's what my dad, because when my grandma passed away, the hollow version, she we're pretty sure the spirit that was in her of feeding people transferred to my dad, because now he's like, I must feed everyone to make everyone happy, and so we must make you bigger, because if you're not, like my grandma did the whole, you're getting too thin. And I was like, Grandma, I've been the heaviest I've ever been in my lifetime, and you're now pushing more food on me. Anyways, so
My grandma never did that.
but she was an Italian. She was a bigger grandma too. Yeah. Oh, you're getting too thin. You're wasting away, Grandma. I don't think you're being truthful to me. So anyways, we get to this restaurant and we order all the food and we get the check, and my brother, who was going to pay for everything, gets the check and he goes, oh, gotta do the appetizers. So my dad's like, I'll take it. Congratulations on the engagement. And I think my brother gave him like $50. Right, so purchasing power, people have different versions of that based off of how much income we have, right? So if we're looking at the cost of different things, you guys might just say, I'm out the moment you see the price tag on stuff. Whereas I might go, maybe. Versus LeBron James shows up and it's like, I'll buy 3 of those. I was talking to a student years ago regarding income effect, and he worked at, remember where, you guys know where 71, there's a Dunkin' Donuts? Used to be a Dunkin' Donuts and a Baskin Robbins.
Yeah.
And now it's just Dunkin' Donuts. Well, when it was Baskin Robbins, one of my students was working there when LeBron had a birthday party for his son. And after the birthday party was over, he gave each one of the kids working $200 tip. Like, how nice is that? Because did you? That's nice. Really nice.
He gave, there's 12 of us working, I think. He gave everyone $100.
That's really, really nice. And then you guys never gone on a cruise or anything like that? Or if you guys go to a resort, sometimes they'll, if you have a person that takes care of you, you give them nice tips at the end too. But anyways, now the next concept, this is my favorite concept of economics. It's just my favorite. Right? It happens all the time. We sometimes don't even think about it. It's called the law of diminishing marginal benefits. And the idea here is, has anybody ever had something, they bought it, they loved it, it was brand new, you cherished it, and then some time goes by, and you still love it, and you still like it, and things are good, but then, it starts to get a little older.
My phone.
Yeah.
Your phone, right? And so what do you do to the phone? What do you do to the car? Kind of try to make it a little better. You get something new for the vehicle, or you might clean it, or you might get a new case for it, right? You do this, and I'll get a new wire, I'll get a new charger for it, I'll do this, and you do whatever you can to keep it fresh and new. But eventually, what do you want to do?
I know.
I want to get rid of it. Right? We all go through that. So that's the idea behind a lot of diminishing marginal benefits. But one of my favorite stories that helps explain this, there is a friend of mine, his name is John, and John and I played football together at Baldwin Wallace. Now, John was a lineman, and I was a fullback. And I basically was a blocker, and he was just a big guy that was standing there. He wasn't great. He was able to kind of do some of his job, but never going to go to the NFL. Wasn't planning on doing anything like that. 6'2". During his healthy years when he was playing, he was 295, 300.
Oh my
He
god.
was a big guy, and that was basically what they wanted him for. Just stand there and hold people back. That was it. Not very mobile. Regardless, out of season 320, 325. Now he's pushing 350, 360. It's been years since we played though, so he's lucky to be there. Based on the way he eats, he should be bigger. Anyways, but going back to the eating thing, he was also one of those guys that if there was like an eating contest, like a pie eating contest, taco eating contest, pizza eating contest, John would be there. That was John's thing. He was always going. So in the midst of getting older, we've graduated. He was living in Broadview Heights. I was living in Brecksville, and my one buddy was living in North Royalton. Of the three of us, Mark, who was the one living in North Royalton, IT guy, self-proclaimed geek, became very, very wealthy since then because IT and all the tech stuff is just. But anyways, he was one of the first people to buy a house. Right, so all of us were either living in apartments or still living at home. We were in our early 20s, and he had bought a house. And we're like, oh, this is so cool. So he calls me up and says, hey, listen, I'm moving on Saturday from my apartment out to, it was right behind Summit Mall. There was a house that he had bought there. Can you come over and help? I just need some help moving 2 or 3 bedroom apartments, nothing of a ton. So a truck, he was renting a U-Haul. And he said, and by the way, on the way, can you pick up John? He's going to talk with him. He's good to help us on that day. Not a problem. So from Brecksville to Broadview Heights, for those who have ever driven this, Route 82 takes you right in. And there's a McDonald's right there as you're getting into North Royalton. So I thought, okay, well, we're going to get food afterwards, but beforehand, let's stop and grab something to eat. So as we pulled in, there was a 5 Big Mac for $5 deal going on. And I instantly went, John, I have a bet for you. And he was like, well, what's the bet? Well, you saw the 5 Big Macs for $5. He was like, okay, all right, go ahead. Keep going. So what I decided to do was bet him, the winner of the bet would have their lunch paid for. So he paid for it individually. If you won, then I would pay him the money, or he would pay for my lunch, depending. Or if he lost, he'd pay for me. And then whoever lost the bet had to pay for the next time we went out. So whatever we did, we went to a football game, concert, whatever, one of us would have had to pay for the entire night. Dinner, tickets, drinks. Okay, deal. Handshake, gentleman's bet. The idea behind the bet was 5 Big Macs for $5. Had to have them done in 20 minutes. There was no getting rid of any of the pieces parts, so you must eat the entire thing. You can't get rid of pickles, right? So you must eat 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun 5 times. Trying to think what else. That was really it, right? If you threw up, disqualified. Right? So that was it. You have to eat them all. So he's in. He sounds good. We go up, we order our meals. He gets the 5 Big Macs, large fry, because he's like, McDonald's, you have to get the fries. And then a large Diet Coke, which I still make fun of him, because I was like, dude, you're eating 5 Big Macs. What's with the Diet Coke? He's like, well, it's the flavor. I like the flavor. I proceed to get my 10-piece nugget meal with the Coke, because it's McDonald's and healthy. No. So, and honey, by the way. Has anyone ever done honey with chicken nuggets? It's the sweet and salty. It's kind of like the Frosty and French fries.
It's almost like a teriyaki sauce. Yeah, but like McDonald's.
So we sit down, kind of go over the rules again, just make sure we're good. We're good to go. I start the timer. First Big Mac. Quite impressive. I ate part of my first nugget, and he had eaten a Big Mac. And I thought, I'm losing this bet right now. I'm not going to win it. It was quite impressive. The only way I can compare it is anybody eaten either soup or mac and cheese, where you kind of like put it in your mouth and you just swallow. That was kind of how it felt like watching him eat the Big Mac. Like he took a bite and then it went down his throat.
That would have made me throw up.
Yeah, it was quite impressive. Followed by sips of Diet Coke to help it, go down all the way. But again, I'm talking maybe the first minute, and that Big Mac was gone. I'm done. Second Big Mac, a little bit slower, but not much. He had finished the first 2 Big Macs probably in the first 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, if I'm pushing the numbers there. Third Big Mac was like a normal human being eating a burger, right? So he actually took a bite, put it down, had a fry or two, sipped some Diet Coke. We had a little conversation. How you doing? How you feeling? He's like, oh, I'm fine. It's easy. And of course, in my mind, I think I'm losing this bet because we're at around the 8-minute mark, 9-minute mark. He has now eaten three Big Macs. 11, 12 minutes left. There's no reason why he should be able to win this. Fourth Big Mac was where I potentially saw the chink in the armor. I saw a version of my buddy where not a version, but kind of had that like pause, that hesitation, that momentary that deep breath that you take at Thanksgiving when you're contemplating going back in for more. Right? He did get up and walk around a little bit. Fifth Big Mac, that was the funny one because, and I had to remind him of the rules. He was like, I know, leave me alone. So he starts taking it apart, and he eats the pickles, and he takes the middle bun and takes French fries. I'm like, what are you doing? He put 6 or 7 French fries in the middle of the roll, and he rolls it up into a French fry burrito, is what he called it, and ate it. I'm like, okay. Proceeded to pick at the lettuce, and then put it back together. And he was like, "That was a double cheeseburger. I can do that. I can't do it on the Big Mac." I'm like, whatever you think. If that's what's going to help you out. Yeah. He was able to make it. He had a couple minutes left even. But I didn't go over the rules after the bet. So I only talked about during the bet. So he won, technically, but then about 2 minutes into the drive to my buddy's house, he was like, you gotta pull over. So I pull over, and all of the Big Macs came back out. And this big guy who we brought along to help us with the couches and the chairs proceeded to take lamps. And he was like, I just can't. At one point, we got to the truck after we put the couch, and he was sitting on the couch in the truck. He's like, I just can't move. I feel so. Sadly, the next time we went out was to an Indians game, and he proceeded to drink many, many beers and much food, and I had to pay for all of it. Because I technically lost the bet. Right, but if you look at the law of diminishing marginal benefits.
Yeah, but you technically said that if you throw up.
But I didn't say after.
You finished the challenge.
Yeah. Did finish it already.
Yeah. Had I said no throwing up at all, then I would have won. But I didn't. I said during. So that was my
That
mistake.
sucks.
Yeah. Now I have had students in the past when they heard about this, they attempted it, and they said around the 4th burger was where they started hitting that little mini wall. They were able to defeat it
I believe you're back to
without throwing up. What's that?
No,
No, Luke eats so much.
They've talked about doing it in class.
Because Olivia buys
Oh, your whole thing.
Olivia buys some stuff when we talk about the
we gotta
pork bell is
get him
$50.
Bayer, allegedly. All right.
Okay. All right. So, with all of that, we're going to stop right there. The idea of the law of diminishing marginal benefits, though, here's a fun one. I thought about this a couple years ago. That concept is kind of like dating right now as well. If you think about it, right? Especially in new relationships when they're like,
I love you.
late wee hours, and then you're like, hey, it's awesome. I really like he plays the video games a little bit too much. Why isn't he calling me back? I texted him 5 times, and I can see the ellipses, but he doesn't say anything. He goes to video game. So he must be looking at it, and he doesn't. So what's he doing? Who's he with? We used to be friends. Now you're like a brother to me.
Ew. You're getting bad.
We should see other people.
All right. So this is actually, who in here has seen